Okay, this question is on R formula. So R formula is not part of the formula list. You actually got to go and memorize it. Okay, so this part here, okay, so the main thing, okay, so there is a equation. So the first step that you should do is convert first. Convert, change this part to the R formula. So do remember the formula will be this and this. So in this question, this is your A and this will be your B. So if you apply correctly, you should be able to get square root 65 cosine theta minus 0.51915. So do take note that it's in radian. So when you apply this part, your calculator should be in the radian mode. So the first step is you apply your R formula. And then step 2, you go and use the R formula equal to the value of 6. So equal to the value of 6. So move it over so that you can do your basic angle. So this will follow the steps of your trigo equation. So get your basic angle. Don't be confused with the basic angle and the alpha. So the alpha, the previous alpha is the alpha in the R formula. So in this case, it's the basic angle in the AFTC. So do your basic angle and then you do it according to the first and the fourth quadrant. But most probably you're going to reject the fourth quadrant because you are restricted from 0 to pi radian. Okay, so that will be the first part. Now, the second part is usually the more difficult one. Okay, so the second part is the more difficult one. Okay, so I'm going to, so by the time you hit the second part, don't forget that you already got the R formula. Don't forget that you already gotten the R formula. And if you recall what you learned in your R formula, there's this part about maximum and minimum value. So from the R formula here, I can actually find the maximum and the minimum. So if I want to find, so it all starts, it's usually based on this part. Okay, so think about the cosine. A cosine function is always between 1 and minus 1. So a cosine function is between 1 and minus 1. If you multiply the square roots, you will get square root 65 cosine. And this is the equivalent of our function. So this is the equivalent of our function. So typically, this is our maximum and our minimum of the specific function. But right now, we got a more tricky situation. We got a square situation. So what happened to the range when we square it? So a lot of people will think that if I square it, I will go and square something like this. Okay, so then both sides, you will get a 65. But it's actually not true. So when you square it, right, you will actually get a 0. Because anything squared will be a positive value. So if you need to understand this a bit more, let me know. I will give you another video to reinforce why when we square, we actually get a 0. So if you need this part, okay, let me know. So I'm going to target this one. So I square root 65, I will get 65. So this is the minimum. The minimum of this. The minimum of this is going to be a 0. And this is the maximum. Maximum of this. So how will this be useful for me to answer the question? So if you look at the function, so now if you look at the function, if I want the largest possible, so think about the largest. So if I want the largest of this, then this must be as small as possible. And the smallest is actually a 0. So that is the largest. And then if I want the smallest, so if I want the smallest of 80 minus this, then this has to be as big as possible, which is the 65. So the smallest is 15. So the largest is 80, the smallest is 15. Then subsequently, I need to find the corresponding value. So how would you find the corresponding value? So the easiest way is to let this equal to 80. So you will get something like this. Bring the 80 over, you will get a 0. Then divide the negative over, you will also get a 0. 0 divided by negative 1. And then when you take square root, you also gotten a 0. So from here, you can execute the cotangent. So you can try doing a tangent. So you will get tangent equal to minus 4 over 7. Oh, sorry, it's 7 over minus 4. And then you do your basic angle, ASTC. So the same thing is going to be for this part. So you can do a 80 minus this. You set it equal to 15. You set it equal to 15. Eventually, you should be able to get something like 7 cosine theta plus sine theta equal to 1, which you make use of your R formula equal to 1. No, sorry. You will be able to get the cosine theta minus 0.51915 equal to 1. Then you solve as per normal. Okay, so it's a bit messy because I got limited space. Actually, the working won't be so long. It's just that because I need to explain. So otherwise, it's actually quite short. You can see from the worked out answer. Okay, so it's important to understand that when you square, you will get a 0 as a minimum. Because after squaring, everything will be positive. So if you still need the reinforcement on this concept, you let me know. There's another video to explain this in greater detail.